what's going on, and some big news happened last night, which was AJ Haulcy, who was the former All Big 12 safety at Houston. He announces that he will be transferring to LSU. It was between LSU and Miami, but AJ Haulcy decided to come play for your LSU Fighting Tigers. But Zach, what are your overall thoughts about this move that happened last night?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the missing piece for LSU's roster, or like Halsey's the thing that's going to get them from CFP hopeful to actual like contender to hopefully hoisting that big jewel looking trophy come January. But this was safety was the biggest glaring hole still kind of on LSU's roster, and Haulcy is the biggest fish in the portal at that position. LSU addressed the need, and we've talked about it for a couple of weeks now. I mean, it hasn't been since Grant dealt it that LSU's had like a legitimate, like good safety play in the backfield, which is just so opposite of what you think of with LSU. And for the first time in 7-8 years, LSU's got some like real talent in the secondary, with Haulcy, Mansour Delane, Tamarcus Cooley, DJ Pickett, Jakeem Jackson. You've still got Ashton Stamps. You've still got PJ Woodland. You're hoping for Deshaun Spears. LSU might actually have some future Sunday guys back there, which hasn't been the case the past couple of years. And they're getting difference makers. They're not just getting bodies just to fill positions. It's people who could legitimately change the ceiling of LSU's 2025 season.
Yeah, definitely, Zach. I mean, just pulled up his stats right there. An 80.5 PFF grade. Only had 159 yards allowed on him, 5 interceptions, 6 pass breakups, a 64.9 passer rating allowed, and an 85.5 coverage grade. Which is really good. LSU, if you looked at this past defense last year, it wasn't the cornerbacks. I thought the quarterbacks did a really good job maintaining the outside. It was when the teams decided to throw it over the top that LSU had troubles with. Of course, you had guys like Sage Ryan and Major Burns back there. And even though they tried to move Sage Ryan around and they tried to move Major Burns around, it still didn't work. And it was very clear that LSU's biggest weakness defensively last year, and you really could say the last few seasons, has been the safety position. And it just seems like we haven't had a bona fide safety. You could probably say since 2019, because even like as good as Derek Stingley was, he dealt with a lot of injury problems, and you really didn't. And well, that's more of a cornerback. But in terms of safety, I mean, Greg Brooks, maybe, but in terms of like when you think of LSU, you think of good defensive back play, and you haven't had a stud safety like a bona fide dog back there. You could say since Grant Delpit. You can make a case for Greg Brooks, but Grant Delpit was really the last one where you stood out like, oh, that guy's a dog.
Yeah, and credit to Matt Moscona today in his opening segment talking about Haulcy. I'm going to get the numbers wrong because I didn't jot them down, but he was comparing and contrasting like Halsey's career versus Jordan Gilbert, who's the most veteran safety on LSU's roster. Either Gilbert's played one more game or one less. I think Gilbert's played one more game than Haulcy in their career, and Haulcy has like 100 more tackles.
Yeah.
So like this is just someone who, I mean, obviously he's going to have to come in and earn a starting spot, but let's not kid ourselves. He's not coming here in his last year of eligibility. First of all, he's not transferring away from Houston to be a rotational piece. He's going to be, you can already put it in pen. Haulcy is your starting safety. Who lines up next to him? That's TBD, but LSU needed a guy and they got a guy at safety. So LSU's putting their money where their mouth is finally. So good on them. Now they need to actually now it's on the staff. Now that you've got the ingredients Okay, what can you come up with?
And I just want to make this up, just say this right now, is that LSU didn't really have to pay much for AJ Haulcy. That has been confirmed. I talked to Preston Guy before he put out the tweet. Let me show you this to you guys. Well, actually, let me read it out to you. So, this is what Preston said. And I actually texted him before he even put this out. But after speaking with sources, I can confirm transfer safety AJ Haulcy received a fair, modest deal with no guarantees of playtime at LSU, as reported last week on the Tiger Beat site. Reading between the lines, it appears to me Haulcy wanted to come in and prove he could do it at a major school. That was from Preston Guy of TigerBait.com. I actually texted him, about the whole situation, because there was a lot that was coming out. Of course, I don't want to say names, but there were certain people that were putting out information that he was the most expensive transfer portal addition in the transfer portal era. But that was quickly shut down by actually LSU staff members. And but it was actually came out that he really didn't actually get that much. He just really wanted to come to LSU. Well, he wanted to play in the SEC, but LSU was the best fit. As you know, LSU is DBU for a reason, even in the years where LSU may be struggling at that side of the field. They're still putting out defensive backs into the NFL draft, whether it is a cornerback or a safety or a nickel. It doesn't matter. LSU is known for developing defensive backs with the highest potential. And even that guy who may be like a 3-star recruit could be a 3rd-round pick or a 4th-round pick, like Zay Alexander. Zay Alexander, I'm pretty sure, was a 2-star, maybe even less than that. I believe he got drafted. I think he did get drafted. But Zach, if you correct me if I'm wrong.
I actually don't. I don't think Zay did get drafted. But
no, he didn't get drafted, but
he
got signed right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
But thank you for mentioning that Preston tweet. I didn't see that show. If that is the case, where they didn't guarantee him playing time and he still wanted to come here and be a part of this, all the more credit to him. Personally, I would still think that there might be an understanding that he's going to come here, and start. But good on you, kid. Go earn it. And frankly, I think he is going to earn it, because I'm not trying to belittle what else she's already got on hand, but they needed a safety, and he wouldn't be coming here otherwise. We didn't really prep this, but what does week 1 snap 1 against Clemson? What's the starting defensive back look like to you as we stand here May 5th, 6:10 p.m. ish?
There's a lot of moving pieces. Hold on, if I had to guess, actually, give me one second. I wrote it down somewhere. Where's my other notepad?
While you do that, Grant, I'll just think aloud. I'm going to assume it's Haulcy. I'm going to assume Tamarcus Cooley starts either as like a nickel or runs next to him at safety. I'm going to assume Mansour Delane is a boundary corner. I think DJ Pickett's going to be starting. I think he's that talented. I think he's that good. I believe I lost count. I think I named 4 names. And I think if you're going with like a 5 DB set, I would say Ashton Stamps is a starter.
And this is what I'd say, just because there's a lot of depth at cornerback, and now with the addition of AJ Haulcy, I would say, so at the start of, when they go out to fall camp, I can tell you who's going to be the starting lineup right now. It's going to be Mansour Delane, Ashton Stamps. At start, it's going to be Harold Perkins, but Harold Perkins is more of a linebacker, but also expect to see Austin Osbury get some reps and star as well when it comes to pass coverage package. Harold can cover the pass, right? He was really good at covering the pass. But in terms of maybe more like 4 or 5 receiver sets, they might have Austin Osbury out there, because Austin Osbury, is more of a natural star than, let's say, Harold Perkins is, because Harold Perkins is more of a linebacker star. Austin Osbury is more of a safety star. But in terms of safeties, I think the star of fall camp is going to be Tomarcus Cooley and JV and Tobiano because they're not going to give the starting position right away to AJ Haulcy, right? Preston explained in this tweet that this isn't we're going to, you're going to be the star. No. You got to prove it. And he's going to play, right? Don't get me wrong. He's going to play. Like, he may not start the first game, but I expect him to start as the season goes along, right? Because I think the defensive backfield is much better than it has been. I think JV and Tobiano, I think people forget that JV and Tobiano is finally back at his more natural position. So I think JV, and he actually performed really good in the spring game. Like, he was all over the place. But like I explained in my in Go Time when I discussed when I initially reacted to the commitment from AJ Haulcy, I said the safety room is much more firm than it has been in a while. Because now you actually have guys that are in the room that are actually legit safeties. And you can say whatever you want about Jardine Gilbert. I know he struggled a lot last year, but Jardine Gilbert was also dealing with injury problems last year. So I want to know what Jardine Gilbert will look like when he's healthier, because he had to be back there. There's nobody else. So with a much better safety room, one that has more talent and depth, AJ Haulcy, the addition to AJ Haulcy only strengthens LSU's chances of making the playoff. And I said like the expectations are not risen. Right? You already signed Bernard Gooden. Defensive line set. We already know that. Linebackers set. Cornerbacks set. The only position group that I was wondering if LSU was going to add another player was the safety room, because it felt like they needed another piece. That guy's AJ Haulcy, and I think just the defense is much, much better. And I'm really excited for this defense this year. This is the first time in a while where I'm really excited for this LSU defense. And that's saying a lot, because we always used to be excited for LSU's defense. It was kind of a given that LSU's defense was going to be just have a bunch of dogs running around looking for raw meat. But in the last few seasons, kind of towards the end of the Orgeron era, and then also even extended into the Brian Kelly era, we really have seen a defense where like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of dogs out there. Maybe besides Taylor Perkins, but that's it. Now we're like, oh, we have a bunch of bona fide dogs. Like, and I feel a lot more confident going to that Clemson game than I was even before the spring. Now I see what the defensive line's like, and the linebackers are really good. And now the defensive backfield, has a lot more talent and depth. The sky's the limit for LSU, Zach.